What's up, guys? It's your host, Alex, Credit Expert, back with another video. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about a video that is very personable to me, and I want to take this time to break this down because I think if a lot of you guys understand this concept, you can get where you want to get to in life. Now, I'm big on entrepreneurship, becoming a business owner, and just pursuing your dreams, but some of you guys may not want to take that type of risk yet. Some of you guys may just want to learn how to make an extra couple thousand per month while you're working your 9 to 5. My background was I was working a 9 to 5, but while I was working that, I invested into a mentor that was able to teach me about business. And I started doing business while working the 9 to 5. And then eventually I went all in, quit my job, went all in with the business, and then it skyrocketed from there. Now, that's a big risk to make. I'm just built like that. I like taking big risks because at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen to us is we die. And we're not gonna die if we quit our job. We can always find another job. There's millions of jobs out there. So with that being said, for me, I just take big risks, but I want to show you what I did and how you can implement it in your life too. Whether that's you working a job and starting your business, or maybe just leaving your job completely and going all in with business. Regardless of what you do, just please make sure you have a mentor or a coach, because if you do leave and you don't have guidance, it's going to be so hard for you to make it. You still can make it, but it's just going to be a lot of stress, and sometimes too much stress will weigh you down and you won't be able to see the end goal. So with that being said, let's get straight to this video. But before we start, remember to hit the subscribe button. That way you guys can see any other videos that I drop. And also, if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me there. It's Alex Credit Expert. Post on a daily basis about motivation, credit funding, all that good stuff. So let's get straight to this video. Now, this video is going to be a little bit more freestyle. Usually I have certain topics written down. That way we can kind of go ahead and talk about them. But for this video, I'm just going to literally freestyle it right here. So the first thing I want to show you guys is obviously the title of this video. So 5 to 9 to leave 9 to 5. So what do we mean by that, right? So obviously we hear the term 9 to 5. That's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is your job. This is when you work that job. 5 to 9, we're talking about 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. This is before job. So what do we mean about the 5 to 9 to leave 9 to 5? What this means is that we want to use 4 hours before we start working in order to better ourselves to eventually leave our job. Because here's the reality a lot of people don't realize. In life, you have the same habits. And this is something that it took me a while to understand. But when I was working my 9 to 5, I already knew 9 to 5 was gone. So realistically, what time do we have left over, right? Me, I was somebody that usually fell asleep around 10. So that means from, and I'll break it down, 9 to 5. So 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is work. And then pretty much I have a little bit of gap. And then 10 p.m. is sleep. And then I usually woke up about, let's say 6 a.m., right? So 6 a.m. will be over here, wake up. So that means realistically, if I wanted to make any type of change to my life, I only had from 5 to 10 to do something, which is 5 hours. And then I had about 6 to 9 to do something, which is about 3 hours. So realistically, you have about 8 hours of your day. We'll put over here 8 hours of day left over to make a change, right? To change. But let's be real. You don't just spawn into work and you don't just spawn back at the house. You got to drive. So, and a lot of times you catch that 9 to 5 traffic. So realistically, even though my job started at 9, I had to leave the house by 8 to be on time. And even though I finished at 5, I wasn't getting to the house until about 6. So what does this mean? This means our time is already cut shorter. This means I only have from 6 to 8, which is 2 hours in the morning. And then I only have from 6 to 10, which is 4 hours in the morning. So now I no longer have 8 hours to change my life. I got about 6 hours to change. And then we got to be real too, right? Most of us probably are going to spend some time eating and probably showering, getting ready. I hope you guys shower. So I need to be out the door by 8 to arrive on time at 9. But that doesn't account for the stuff it takes me or the time it takes me to get ready. So let's just say we reserve 30 minutes to showering and eating, which is really fast, right? So now this, let's subtract another 30. Realistically, I only have 1 hour and 30 minutes from 6 a.m. to do my stuff and then get ready and be on time for work. And then let's say in the afternoon, we have 4 hours, but we subtract another 30, let's say to shower and eat to get ready for bed. So now realistically, we have about 3 hours and 30 minutes. Add that together, that's 4, 5. We are left with 5 hours realistically to actually change and better ourselves. Now, I hope you guys exercise. I hope you guys work out, because if you take care of your body, you're gonna feel confident, you're gonna love yourself, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna have more energy, and you're just gonna live a higher quality of life. So If you guys are working out as you should be, let's say you dedicate 1 hour to working out. And again, being realistic, an hour for some of you guys may not be enough. Maybe it's an hour, hour and a half, but we'll keep it short. Let's just say you dedicate one of these hours to working out. So let's just throw in right here, right? Let's say right after work, you go work out. So we'll subtract another hour. So now minus 1 hour for gym. So let's subtract 1 hour here. That means now we are left with 4 hours to change. So that means if you're somebody that goes to sleep at 10, wakes up at 6, you're getting about 8 hours of sleep, right? So we are somebody that gets 8 hours of sleep per day, which is healthy. But on 8 hours of sleep, we really only have 4 hours to change our life. Because by the time we start getting ready for work, shower, eat, change, drive, clock in, work, 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 leave work, go to the gym, get home, eat, shower, sleep, we only have about 4 hours to change. And here's the sad part. A lot of us, when we get home, what we're probably doing is checking our phones and scrolling. This is what I did, and it took me some time to realize. As soon as I would finish from work, I would go hit the gym, and then once I finished hitting the gym, I would go home. Now, I felt good about myself because I was working my job, I was slowly getting promoted. I was also doing great in my company, making over 6 figures, so everything felt good. I was hitting the gym, my body felt right, my mind felt right, work felt right, but something was lacking. I didn't really have a lot of money and I knew I wanted more. The reality was though, after I did everything I needed to do, work and gym, as soon as I got home, I was tired because I just spent the whole day working and then right after I went to go work out. So I realized that when I would get home, I would start scrolling because this was my time to decompress, to chill out, to relax. If there was a new TV show or maybe somebody wanted to play video games like my little brother or maybe a family member, I was down. I finally had time for myself. And that's the problem. We think that we work so hard all day because we're working our job and we're hitting the gym that we deserve these last final hours to kind of relieve ourselves of all the stress. So now what was happening is I only had 4 hours to change my circumstance after we described all the time that is lost. But then easily 1 hour was going to Instagram, social media. Another hour was going to playing video games. And then probably that last hour was just doing random stuff, maybe talking to friends or still playing, which finally leaves us with 1 hour to ourselves. And when you have 1 hour left to make a change, it doesn't seem like you have much time. So a lot of us stop doing that. So this is the reality for most people. You get a job, you work that job. By the time you finish the job, you go hit the gym if you're on your health grind. And then when you get home, you're already prepping for the next day. You're making your meals, you're showering, you maybe are watching a TV show, playing video games, and then you run out of time. So then now you get stuck in this loop where you never have time because Monday through Friday you're working and your schedule was taken up. To make things worse, once the weekend comes, Saturday and Sunday, even though you're not working these days, most of the time you see these days as free days to reset. So now what ends up happening is you don't do anything to change your circumstance. You don't learn anything, you don't try to develop a new skill, you kind of just use these days to slack off, if you would say, to relax, to recharge. So this is how you get stuck in that loop. Now, the reason why it's important to recognize what you do on a day-to-day basis is because, again, a lot of us are stuck in the cycle. We have the same habits. Wake up, work job, go to sleep. And it becomes hard for us to find time to break out of this. So this is where this phrase comes. 5 to 9 to leave 9 to 5. What you can do is, if your 9 to 5 is keeping you stuck, wake up earlier. If you wake up at 5, now you have from 5 to 9 to do stuff to better yourself. Before your job, you can do a couple things. You can study material for maybe a business or maybe a skill that's going to pay you a lot of money. You can use this time to work out. Maybe you work out instead in the morning. That way now afternoon, you have time to meet with clients. You have time to meet with your mentor. Regardless, the main concept is that before your 9 to 5, you use this time to change. Now, I'm gonna break it down on the reality of this and how true it is. Because right here we have somebody that wakes up at 6, goes to work from 9 to 5, and then sleeps by 10. And still, they are only left with 4 hours to change. I'm gonna give you the breakdowns on what you can do if this is you, how waking up earlier helps you, and so forth. So, to give you an example first of how I use this in my scenario, me personally, I was working my 9 to 5, but realistically, mine was more of like an 8 to 6 because I worked overtime. I wanted to be the best at what I did, and I became the best by working a lot of overtime. So I was somebody that was already working 8 to 6 p.m. Now remember, you also had to drive home, so I would get home around 7 p.m. And then also I had to leave about 7 a.m. This is in order to make it to work on time. So realistically, 12 hours of day are gone just like that to work. So what does this mean? I needed to wake up earlier in order to create time. And being real with you guys, I was tired. By like 9, I wanted to knock out. So let's say 9 p.m. is sleep, right? I got 2 hours here. Now before this, I needed to wake up. So what I started doing was actually waking up at 3 a.m. and I was sleeping at 9 p.m. So that means I got 6 hours of sleep because I was desperate to change. So what I started doing is after work, I would go hit the gym and basically shower and eat. So basically after 7, from 7 to 9, I was in the gym, I was eating, and then pretty much in bed. So realistically, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., I was hitting the essentials, which was work, gym, sleep. This realistically meant that the only time I had to work on myself and better myself was before the day started. So what I started doing was waking up early. If I would wake up at 3 a.m., that gave myself 4 hours to improve. So that's what I started doing. Waking up at 3 a.m. to study content, study material, and improve. After a couple of weeks of doing this, I started getting better at business. I started getting better at on the topic. I started learning how to post online. I started learning how to create content. Started learning systems and etc. Everything I needed to conduct a business, I was learning from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. And to take it one step further, I then realized we all have about 30 minutes to 1 hour of lunch. So I started realizing, hey, during lunch, all I'm doing is talking with coworkers about how much we hate this job. So why don't I use that time to benefit me? So that's when I started locking myself up in rooms, leaving the job site to go off site to just be by myself and continue learning. This is now when I started taking appointments with clients. I started learning more because if I didn't finish the topic in the morning, I was going to use lunchtime to keep learning. Meeting with coaches and mentors. I even experimented working out, but that one didn't work because I wasn't trying to pull up back to work all sweaty. That's gross. But I swear, if I could have figured it out, I would have done that for sure. But anyways, I started using that extra hour to fuel how quickly I was going to leave my 9 to 5. So once I got into this mode, the more you do it and do it and do it, you gain momentum and you gain kind of this discipline and this feeling of you have to do it no matter what. In the beginning, it was hard. It was hard waking up early because you're so tired and you're like, is this even going to pay off? But I promise you, if you stay dedicated to this, you start building habits for yourself where you know you're getting better every single day. It builds your confidence, it builds your momentum, and then you start seeing the results. Everything you're spending time learning is leading to you getting clients, and now you're taking clients through lunch calls. Now, instead of getting paid every week or every 2 weeks, you're getting paid during lunch. That feeling is amazing. It starts showing you that this is possible. And now you become somebody that slowly starts making as much money as their 9 to 5 or more by having these habits. Now, from your 3 to 9 a.m., or in my case, from my 3 to 7 a.m., I was already doing stuff that could generate me income that would replace what I was making at my 9 to 5. And then from there, that's when you slowly start building the courage to leave. Now, in my situation, I was different. While I was learning this, I was making money, but I was not making as much money as my 9 to 5. My 9 to 5 was making me close to $12,000 per month. My actual business was only generating anywhere from 2 to 5K per month. At that time, again, you have to take a look at the facts. You're working a 9 to 5, which in my case was about a 10-hour job because I was always putting in overtime. However, my actual business, I was really only giving it about 4 hours per day. And out of those 4 hours, not all of it was to conduct business. A lot of it was still to learn the business itself. So then it clicked. I either have to go ahead and continue doing this where I wake up super early to continue building my business and go to my 9 to 5, or I decide to go all in and just choose one. Now I realized that 9 to 5 was not going to get me to where I wanted to go. My managers, my superiors around me, miserable and did not have the stuff I wanted. So then it clicked. How can I have what I want when the people around me that are better than me did not have it? So that's when I realized I have to go all in with one. The great thing about my 9 to 5 is that my 9 to 5 taught me that the harder you work, the more you can earn. I was commission based. It made me realize that in business, it's the same thing. How hard you work determines how much income you make. Once that clicked for me, I realized even though my business was not generating as much as my 9 to 5, I was not giving it as much attention as my 9 to 5. So if I were to decide to give it my all, there was no way I couldn't make as much or more with my own business. So me personally, I took the leap of faith and I quit my 9 to 5. However, one thing about me is that I've been into credit and funding for a long time. So at this point, even though I was still learning business, I was sitting on close to $400,000 of funding available to me. So I knew that based off my current expenses, which at the time I believe were about 4K, if there was a month where I didn't make the 4K, it's okay. I could swipe it on a credit card and we live to see another month. So for me, even though it was a very risky move to make, I was making maybe 20 to 30% of my actual income on my business. For me, even though my business was only making a fraction of what my 9 to 5 was making, I was willing to take that risk because I knew if I had a bad month, I could just float with credit cards. And also, I knew how to get myself funded, so I could float myself on 0% cards. And the thing about 0% cards is if you know you're gonna make money in the future, you can swipe now and pay back later, all for free because you're not getting charged interest. So what I decided to do was I said, let's do it, YOLO. I ended up quitting my job, started my business, and let me tell you, the next 2 months, horrible. I want to say I only made maybe like 4K, 5K, but after that, everything blew up. And now we're at where we are now. And so this is what I mean about how you have to use your 5 to 9 to leave your 9 to 5. You have to identify what time in the day you have free to yourself, and you have to become disciplined to take control of that time and use it to better yourself. In this situation, my personal life, as I told you guys, I was waking up at 3 a.m. to study up until 6 a.m. so I could leave by 7. I was literally waking up so early because I had a dream that I wanted to achieve. And if I had not decided to do that, I would have been stuck in the same loop. Wake up, go to work, go to sleep, and never find the time. But the biggest thing that people miss is right here. We just identified 4 hours of time. However, this is where you have to be super, super, super strategic and selfish. You have to say no to people, you have to lock in, and you have to bet on yourself. And the great thing is that once you do this for long enough, you gain your skill to then start your business. You generate enough income to either leave your business, and now you're just living a better life overall. So this is how you use 5 to 9 to leave your 9 to 5. And to tie it into credit and funding, if you know how to utilize credit to borrow money from the banks, if you don't know what you want to do yet, you can borrow money at 0% interest to get a coach or a mentor, learn a skill, use the time before your day, your 5 to 9, to learn the skill, and then eventually, once the income passes what you're making at your job, leave your 9 to 5 and go all in. Or if you want to take big, big risk like I did, you can get yourself funded more than what you need. And then you still hire the coach and the mentor, but then you quit your job and now you have all day to go all in with what you're learning. And you have the money available to float a couple months. Now, that is not what I recommend for everybody because it is a very risky decision. You should only do it if you have complete belief in yourself and you are a very optimistic person. But just realize everything comes with a risk. Make sure the risk is worth it to you. But that's how I personally use my credit and funding to get myself funded, get the coach, have enough credit to keep floating, quit the job, go all in before I saw huge months. But due to this additional time, because I left my job, I had more focus and more effort to put into the business to bring me to where I am today. I hope you guys understood the concept of this video. What I'm trying to tell you is that if you want to see change in your life, whether that's become a business owner or maybe still keep a job but generate more income on the side, you need to learn. You're at where you're at right now in life because of the information you have been exposed to. So in order to level up, you need new information, which means a new skill, a new coach, a new mentor. If you can get that, from there, you need to learn that and execute, and then you can turn that into money. For some of you, you might leave your job and go along with a business. For others, it might be keep working that job, but now you bring extra income to the household. Regardless of which route you're going, just make sure that you identify what habits and loops you're stuck in on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis so you can identify the times that you're not using to your fullest advantage and start getting rid of things that are not helping you grow and start reallocating that time to things that will make you better. If you can follow this, you'll have success in business, in life, relationships, health, body, whatever. Just always make sure that you're using your time to its fullest potential because remember, time we never get back. So make sure whatever you're spending your time on, it's worth it. With that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you guys can stay up to date anytime I drop a new video. Click the like button if you enjoyed this and comment down below what you thought and what other type of videos you want to see. Other than that, if you're not following me on Instagram, what are you doing? Go ahead and follow me. It's Alex Credit Expert. And that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you here for the next one.